Hello, I am Mona. Fazlijan and myself couldn't be at the International Educational Technology Conference this year in Chicago due to certain circumstances, so we apologize for that, but nevertheless, we can meet you virtually. The title of our presentation today is The Effectiveness of Interactive Multimedia Courseware with Cooperative Mastery Approach in Enhancing Higher Order Thinking Skills in Learning Cellular Respiration. This paper actually is a part or a very small part of Fazlijan's dissertation, which she had successfully defended and will be actually graduating in November of this year. Biology has been always documented as a difficult subject because it is generally taught as a level of abstraction. And in Malaysia, the analysis and the performance of the Malaysian Certificate of Education, abbreviated to STPM in Bahasa Malaysia, has decreased and is unstable, whereby in certain years the results are quite high, but in many years it has fluctuated. Also, many students' common misconceptions concerning biology topics include cellular respiration. So that's why we are concentrating on cellular respiration as our topic. And the complex processes and the use of technical terms such as the topic of cellular respiration make them difficult to learn. So how do we try to solve this? So the solution is that the utilization of computer as an ubiquitous teaching tool has become very prevalent in Malaysia, in the Malaysian school and in education in general. And we find that the computers in combination with effective learning strategies has a tremendous potential in the teaching and learning process. Therefore, with the advent of ICT as a teaching tool and the availability of computer hardware in schools, the problem of applying mastery learning as well as cooperative learning can be improved by using an interactive multimedia courseware. So we pose a research question whereby we would like to see whether students who receive the multimedia assisted mastery learning, the multimedia assisted cooperative learning, and the multimedia assisted cooperative multimedia mastery learning strategies differ in terms of their achievement score for analyzing, synthesizing, and creating domain of the Bloom's taxonomy. So we have hypothesized that there are no significant differences in the achievement scores of Bloom higher order thinking skills domain among the students who received the various three strategies. Meaning, the first one, there are no significant differences in the achievement score of the analyzing domain among the students. Two, there are no significant differences in the achievement score of the evaluating domain among students of the three strategies. And third, there are no significant differences in the achievement score of the creating domain among the students. When we look at the revised Bloom's taxonomy and the cellular respiration topic, it goes hand in hand in the sense that from remembering to the higher order thinking skills of creating, so the lower order thinking skill for the cellular respiration topic is like naming the enzyme involved and location of cellular respiration process, going to explaining and calculating. But of the higher order thinking, they need to actually differentiate as well as compare and also look at or create what are the relationship between the fermentation process and muscle fatigue condition. How the we implement this is through using a multimedia learning environment, or rather the interactive multimedia. And in the multimedia courseware, we have various mode of representation. The interactivity that goes through it is high. We have the dynamic presentation of media, the ability of keeping and retrieving data as well as getting feedback. In the multimedia assisted mastery learning, the quality of instruction all is high, especially with the mastery learning. Everyone has the opportunity to learn successfully, the ability for them to learn from mistakes, and they are encouraged and they can go through the various processes. The multimedia assisted cooperative learning, the MCL, uses cooperative learning, whereby they have a common goal for positive interdependence, face-to-face promotive interaction, individual accountability. They have social skills and also group processing. By combining this both of them, integrating the MML as well as MCL, we get the multimedia assisted cooperative mastery learning, and it is a systematic design of instruction and active learning, and this will lead to the students in increasing the learning engagement, having sufficient time in learning, as well as they can identify their own as well as their peer weaknesses to improve in the subject. I would like to actually explain that it's only one courseware, whereby the courseware we have integrated the mastery learning in it, and the cooperative learning is on the outside, that happens during the discussion and also during the learning outside of the courseware itself. So for the multimedia assisted cooperative learning, the mastery component has been deactivated. So we can see the various components between the MML, MCL and MCML. We can look at the comparison, whereby the multimedia assisted mastery learning lacks group learning as well as group reward. But for the multimedia assisted cooperative learning, do not have the self-learning. It is not necessary for them to score more than 80, or it lacks corrective feedback, formative tests, as well as the enrichment activity. However, for the MCML, it only lacks the self-learning, because the cooperative learning is actually going on the whole time in that strategy. The flowchart of the courseware has 6 units, meaning that the students will go to the main menu, will select one of the units. In this case, the first unit is types of respiration. They will go through the courseware. They will be tested, the formative evaluation. Then if they score more than 80%, they can go forward. They can go further. They can do the enrichment activity. But if they failed or get below than 80%, why 80%? Because that is what has been recommended in mastery learning by Gasky. And so if they did not score that, they can go through the corrective activity, or they can actually proceed by going through the formative test, or in fact ask the teacher for help. Then once they get the 80%, like the rest of the students, they will go through the enrichment activity, the main menu. They will go through maybe the second unit and the rest. They need to go through all 6 units, and then they will have one final enrichment activity and a summative test to check where they are. So the method that we used, we employed the quasi-experimental method, whereby we have one independent variable, which is the multimedia learning courseware, but using 3 different learning strategies. We have 3 dependent variable, which is the achievement score for the analyzing domain, evaluating domain, and creating domain. Here we can see that for the results on the descriptive statistics of 3 different domains of the analyzing, evaluating, and creating, relatively, the achievement score of the creating domain for the multimedia assisted mastery learning is much greater than the MCML which is greater than the MCL, which is only the multimedia with the cooperative learning. You can see that. And of course, for analyzing and evaluating, it's slightly different, as you can see in the table. Next, we would like to present that what we did was we analyzed it through using MANOVA, and the Wilks lambda shows that it is significant, whereby P is equals to 0.001. Thus, the hypothesis 1, which stated that the population means on achievement score of Bloom's higher order thinking skill domain were the same for the three groups, was rejected. Okay, so meaning that they are not the same. The results on the MANOVA analysis also shows that for the correct creating means score for the creating domain, P is 0.001, F 14.48, and this is significant. But for the analyzing and evaluating domain is not significant. This leads us to conclude that for the analyzing domain, which was not significant, for the evaluating domain, which is not significant, so both results showed that there were no significant differences of analyzing and evaluating scores among the groups. Therefore, H not 1A and H not 1B, the first and the second one, were accepted, but the third one with there were significant differences of the creating score, creating domain among the groups. Therefore, H not 1C was rejected. If you'd like to know more about this, you can read our paper once it is actually published. Results comparing group means for the creating domain, we can see that two groups differ significantly. Here we can see the MML and MCL. Okay. Which has 0.00. The MCML and MCL also showed significant difference, but the group on MCL with the mastery cooperative learning, not mastery, but the multimedia assisted cooperative learning, and the MCML, MCML, multimedia cooperative mastery learning did not show any significant difference. Okay, no, that was a mistake. Wait, hold on. This one, MML and MCL, is significant, but MML and MCML is not significant. Yeah, that's right. There you go. Okay. So, in summary and conclusion, the study shows that the MML and MCML strategies are a little bit more superior compared to the MCL strategy, meaning that without the mastery, then it is not as superior to enhance higher order thinking skills, especially for the creating domain. Right? So emphasizing on the creating domain. The findings of this study propose a simple but powerful approach to facilitate the cellular respiration learning processes of students, and through the use of a multimedia integrated learning courseware with a series of high quality instructions in mastery learning and cooperative mastery learning. So we can actually use the integrated learning courseware. So we've come to the end. If you have any questions, you can email us to ask for clarification. But if not, you can just go ahead and read our paper. So thank you so much for listening. So have a wonderful time at the conference in Chicago. Thank you.